I just want to preface this video by saying I do not encourage nor condone the use of cigarettes or weed or anything similar to that. And if you're under the age of 18, you can get out of my channel right now. But I'm going to go ahead and get the video started. Make sure to like and subscribe, of course, and enjoy. Thank you. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about what my favorite Marlboro flavors are, and I'm going to be doing a tier list of all of the Marlboro flavors I've ever tried. But yeah, today I am smoking a Natural American Spirit Yellow. I don't have any Marlboros on me today, but I am just going to be chilling, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the tier list, and let's go ahead and get this video started, you know what I'm saying? Hell yeah. Let's get it. Ooh, man. But yeah, no, today I have a bunch of stuff. So I have a bunch of like Marlboro Reds, I have a bunch of Marlboro Menthols, and I just have a bunch of stuff in general, you know what I'm saying? But I think right now I'm just going to go ahead and start it off with a basic cigarette. The classic, the Marlboro Reds. Now, Marlboro Reds are a fantastic cigarette, and they're just an absolute classic, and for that reason, they're just going into S tier right off the bat. They're decently inexpensive, at least where I live. They're not terribly much amount of money kind of thing. I know in places like New York and stuff like that, it's absolutely insane how much money they charge you for cigarettes, but where I live, these are like $5.50, $6 kind of thing, so it's not terrible. And they're honestly just such a classic cig. They taste amazing, and while they're not my favorite full-flavored cig, they are a classic. And for that reason, just right off, they're going into S tier, you know what I'm saying? But the next one is going to be a new cig. It's going to be Marlboro Blacks. Now, I do quite like Marlboro Blacks. I haven't had the Marlboro Menthol Black, but I do quite like the just classic Marlboro Black. They're very good, insane amount of nicotine. But they're just a pretty good cigarette in general overall. My problem with them is that they taste very chemically. They're not the greatest tasting thing in the world, but I do quite like them. I do quite enjoy them though. So yeah, I think these are going to be going into a solid B tier just because they are a solid cigarette, but the problem with them really just comes down to it's not the greatest taste in the world, but they are really cheap, but as said, for that reason, they're going into B tier. The next cigarette I'm going to handle, though, is a little bit of a different one. It's a little bit of a menthol and a regular. It's the Marlboro NXT. Marlboro NXTs are a copycat of the Camel Crush. They're absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love Marlboro NXTs. They're very good. But the only problem with them is, once again, they taste very chemically. But they're a very good competitor towards Camel Crushes, which is what their competitor is meant to be. So for that reason, these are going into A tier. Marlboro NXTs are absolutely fantastic, and I absolutely love them. They're definitely one of the cigarettes where I'm looking at it, and I'm just kind of like, man, this is a good cigarette. You know what I'm saying? But the next one I think I'm going to do is my favorite cigarette of all time. And that's the Marlboro Southern Cut, right here, as you can see it. These are going into a solid S tier. Absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love Marlboro Southern Cuts. Fantastic taste, fantastic price, fantastic smoke. One of my favorite cigarettes of all time, and I just absolutely love them. They're just absolutely fantastic. And I don't know, I can't really say that much more about them because they're just the best. I absolutely love them. Now, the next one I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to do any Marlboro 72. Now, basically, Marlboro 72s are basically just a Marlboro Red, a Marlboro Light, a Marlboro Ultra Light, or a Marlboro Menthol. And they're basically just any of those, but in a shorter cigarette form. And now, while those are pretty good, I got to be completely honest, they're both all basically pretty much the same thing as just a normal just full flavored one, as like the normal like length or whatever. They taste exactly the same, but they smoke slightly differently. But these are pretty good. I think these are going to have to go into a solid B tier just because I really do enjoy 72s, but it's not one of those things I pick up a lot kind of thing. I pick it up every once in a while, but I don't really pick up 72s a lot kind of thing. But they are absolutely fantastic, and I really do enjoy them. But the next one I think I'm going to do Marlboro Blend 27s. Now, Marlboro Blend 27s are another thing that's very similar to Southern Cuts. They taste very similar, but they're a little bit different. They're a little bit less sweet, but they're still absolutely fantastic, and I really do like them kind of thing. But for that reason, they're just going to have to go into A tier. They're not as good as Southern Cuts. They're still a fantastic smoke, and I do highly recommend them, but they're just not as good as Southern Cuts. It's either got to be classic or it's got to be an absolutely fantastic cigarette to get into S tier. A tier is just the basic, really good cigarette tier. But the next cigarette I think I'm going to have on here are Marlboro Greens. Now, Marlboro Greens, I gotta admit, are not a very good cigarette. It's probably my least favorite Marlboro cigarette overall. I gotta be completely honest. They're just not very good. I mean, like they're a decent menthol, but Marlboro has better menthols that I'll be getting to later on in the video. So for that reason, these are just gonna have to go into a solid D tier. As said, they're not really that bad, but they're not really that good either, kind of thing. And for that reason, they're going into D tier. But the next cigarette I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do Marlboro Ultralights. Now Marlboro Ultralights taste like paper. That's about all I have to say about them. They taste like paper. And for that reason, these are going to have to go into D tier as well, just because they taste like paper. You don't get any nicotine off of them, but they are there for a reason, kind of thing. It makes sense why they make ultralights. And yes, 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 I know I'm smoking a cigarette inside. My ideas have changed a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just enjoying it. Man, this is really, really good. But yeah, on to the next cigarette. So, the next cigarette is going to be Marlboro Red 100s. Now, Marlboro Red 100s are absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love Marlboro Red 100s, but there are a couple issues with them. They're just Marlboro Reds. Marlboro Reds are a classic, but it's the original that's the classic. And for that reason, these just have to go into A tier. They're not exactly the classic, but they're still really, really good. And I still really, really enjoy them, kind of thing. But they're just not as good as the classic, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? But the next cigarette, I think, is going to be Marlboro Green Ultralights. Now, I'll be completely honest. These, it's going into D tier. With the same, it's the same thing with the Marlboro Green and the Marlboro Ultralight. It's going into D tier. It's basically just a cigarette to smoke. There's no nicotine in it. It's just a menthol cigarette. That's all it is, kind of thing. It's not very good. But the next one I think I'm going to do, I'm going to start wiping out this area of the tier list a little bit. The next one I'm going to do is Marlboro Lights. Now, Marlboro Lights are a great, great, great drunk cigarette. I've made a video on it. I highly recommend you go check that out, of course. But Marlboro Lights are absolutely fantastic, and they're really, really a good cigarette kind of thing. But the thing is, they don't really taste a lot like tobacco. They taste a lot like paper, and while that's not an issue, they were one of my favorite cigarettes for quite a while. And they're pretty good, but you still do get a little bit from them. And for that reason, they're going to have to go into a solid B tier. They are a solid B tier cigarette, and I really, really enjoy them. Now, Marlboro Midnights are a fantastic menthol. It's part of the Marlboro Black line, and they are pretty good. But the thing is, there's just better options, kind of thing. And for that reason, these are just going to have to go into C tier. They are the first C tier on this list so far. They're absolutely fantastic, but it's just there's better options. You know what I'm saying? Now, one of my favorite menthols of all time, Marlboro Cool Smooth, or whatever it's called. I can't remember. Marlboro Smooths or whatever, or Marlboro Blues. Marlboro Blues are really, really good, but they're not my favorite kind of thing. There's really not much to say. They're just a menthol. They're very smooth. They're very minty, very pepperminty, and for that reason, they're going into B tier. Now, the best one ever is the classic Marlboro Smooth. I got them mixed up. Marlboro Blues are not Marlboro Smooths. These are the Marlboro Smooths. I'm pointing at it, but you can't see my hand. These are the absolute fantastic, the absolute best Marlboro menthols. Marlboro Smooths are absolutely insane. They're absolutely fantastic, and I absolutely love them, and I highly recommend you pick up a pack if you're looking for a new cigarette to smoke or anything like that. And man, I thought this would go out on its own because I haven't been hitting it a lot. I've been forgetting. I've been into this video. But honestly, it's just been smoking on its own. Glad I got my own ashtray, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, the final cigarette is going to be the Marlboro Smooth Ice. Now, the Marlboro Smooth Ice are basically just a more icy variety of the Marlboro Smooth, and they are the first cigarette I had in the Marlboro Smooth line. I really do enjoy them, and I really, really like the reseal packs. Same with the Marlboro Smooths. The reseal packs are really, really good, and they're really cool. But these are an absolutely fantastic cigarette. And honestly, I'm going to have to place them halfway from A tier into S tier because they are honestly a fantastic menthol, a fantastic cigarette in general. And they're just really, really good. I really do enjoy them, kind of thing. But yeah, that's the tier list. As you can tell, Marlboro Reds, of course, are in S tier. Marlboro Southern Cuts are in S tier as well because they're my favorite cigarette. Marlboro Smooths are in S tier, and Marlboro Smooth Ice is halfway through S tier and A tier. Marlboro NXT is the first cigarette in the A tier. They are absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love Marlboro NXTs, and they're really just a great smoke, you know what I'm saying? A little bit chemically, but that's the only reason why they're in A tier. Marlboro Blend number 27s are absolutely fantastic. I love them, but they're just not as good as the Southern Cuts. That's why they're not in S tier. Marlboro Red 100s, another classic, but they're not the classic kind of thing, and that's why they're in A tier. Now, Marlboro Blacks are the first B tier item. Marlboro Blacks are pretty good, but they just don't taste the best, but there's a ton of nicotine in them, and they're pretty good for that. I gotta be completely honest. Now, Marlboro 72s are not really one of the things that I smoke a lot kind of thing. And just for that reason, and just because they're basically the same thing as every other cigarette kind of thing, they're just a shorter variety and they taste a little bit different. Those are going in B tier as well, but they are pretty good. Now, Marlboro Lights are another B tier item just because it's a Marlboro Light. I'm not really a light smoker myself. I prefer full flavored cigarettes, but there's not really an issue to that kind of thing. I respect the Marlboro Lights. I respect people who smoke lights, so yeah. Marlboro Blues are pretty good, but they're not the greatest. They're a good menthol, but that's about it kind of thing. There's not much to say about them. They're pretty generic. Let's go ahead and get another hit. You know what I'm saying? I think this might be the last hit. But yeah, the next one on the list is Marlboro Midnight. Now, Marlboro Midnights are absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love Marlboro Midnights, but the problem is they're just not as good as the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they are in C tier, because they are still an absolutely fantastic cigarette, but they're not just the best kind of thing. Now, Marlboro Greens are not, they're probably the worst cigarette I've ever smoked by Marlboro. Same with the Marlboro Light Ultralights and the Marlboro Ultralight Menthols. They're just not the greatest, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's pretty much the tier list, just like this. I hope you enjoyed the. Oh man, I can't talk today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you had, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I'm gonna take one more hit, and then I'm gonna end the vid. Man, that was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love that, and that was just a good smoke overall. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the tier list, and that's the video. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and until the next one, make sure to like and subscribe, of course, and stay safe out there. Enjoy your life, enjoy your smoke, enjoy your day. You know what I'm saying? Have a good one, y'all. Stay safe out there.